guys, I'm Allison, and I'm the designer over here at Teachable. I'm going to share some of my best design secrets to help you create killer visuals, and in particularly slides. These tips can be used for any visual content you're creating, like ads, your worksheets, other resources, and even on your sales page. I'm going to walk through what slides are great for, layout tips, using colors and fonts, and easy image tweaks. And the best part is you don't need to be a designer to implement them. Let's get started. Did you know that our brains process visuals 60,000 times faster than text? That's nuts. So here's the awesome and easy takeaway. Use visuals in your course, your blog, everywhere. An easy visual to use in your course is slides, and you can use them in a couple of ways. First, they're great as standalone content. Meaning, if you're trying to get content out quickly without having to make any videos, slides are great for that. Most of you have probably used PowerPoint or Keynote at some point in your life, and that's all you need to create slides. Slides are also extremely visual. You can use text and images to create lessons for your students that can be quickly flipped through. Take the website SlideShare for instance. Most decks on there are just written content that tells a story or lesson from the beginning of the deck to the end. And that is exactly what you can do with slides for your course. If you haven't before, I'd check out SlideShare for some inspiration. We also have an account on there, so just go to Google and search for Teachable SlideShare, and you should be able to find us and see all of the decks that I've created. Now, your decks don't have to be the most fancy things you've ever seen. The most important thing about slides is that they need to clearly convey the information you're trying to tell your students. These tips I'm giving you are to help you convey your information clearly while just adding a little bit of pizzazz. But before I get into them, I want to explain how you can use slides with videos in your course as well. There are also a couple options for this. The first is slides and audio. This is where you flip through your slides while talking over them, just like I'm doing now. You can use Screenflow, like Ashley talked about earlier, to record your slides and the audio. With Screenflow, you have the option of having a video show up in the bottom right-hand corner of the slides. If you decide to do it this way, make sure you don't add content in this area of your slides. Otherwise, it will be completely covered by the video. If you want to do the video in the corner, here's my quick hack on how to find out exactly where the video falls when you're designing your slides. So, step 1, all you need to do is open a widescreen deck in Keynote or PowerPoint and save it. It can be blank, it's okay. Open Screenflow and do a super quick recording of yourself and the slides, seriously 5 seconds, and then just save it and export it. Then play the exported video and take a screenshot of the full screen video, just like I did in this first image above. As you can see the slide and where the video falls on the screen. Then drop this screenshot into your Keynote or PowerPoint deck and create a rectangular shape on top of your video. Just like in the second image, it's that orange box. This is how all of my slides look before I created them. That orange box is where the video falls. And when I'm done putting all of the text and images on the slide, I just delete it. Now, if you're really advanced with videos and editing, you can shoot a video of yourself speaking and edit in clips of the slides, which is what we've done with a lot of the videos in this course. In these two cases, your slides list the essential information that your audience needs to know and helps them stay focused on what you're saying. Plus, it helps you remember what you want to say while you're recording your videos. Now, let's get into the awesome tips I mentioned before. I'm talking layout tips, colors, fonts, and images in these next 4 videos to help you take your slides from blank to beautiful. Now, any of these tips can be used on any type of visual content you create, like Facebook ads, social media images, and even, and most importantly, on your course sales page. Okay, now on to those tips. Welcome back to slide design video number 2. This quick video covers the basics in slide design, from picking the right aspect ratio to determining how much content to add to one slide. So, before you start designing anything, make sure your slides are in the video format you will be shooting in. For example, we shoot in a 16:9 aspect ratio. So in Keynote, I design the slides in the widescreen format. Using slides that are in the same format as your video ensures that no information is cut off and makes editing way easier. When you're adding text to your slides, keep them short and to the point. Do not put paragraphs of information onto your slides. It's way too much for your audience to take in, and it will cause your audience to become distracted because they're going to be trying to read everything on the slide and will stop listening to you. Instead, use bullet points or very short sentences. You can even use multiple slides for a point. Your audience will thank you, and it also makes everything look so much better. Check out this slide. There's so much going on. There's multiple bullet points. There's lots of long bullet points, and your time is now taken up by trying to read what's on this slide. And not to mention, it looks pretty ugly and is kind of hard to read. Now, check out this slide from Mateo Cassis, founder of Presentation Hero. It's a beautiful slide. The most important parts are listed clearly, and it's easy to read. Plus, the design isn't too crazy. There's a simple, solid background with a light text that's easy to read and a secondary color that's complementary that emphasizes the important words. There is also a consistent design element on the right-hand side. This represents the sections covered in his course and in this lecture. Now, designing presentations is his thing. It's his job, it's what his courses are all about, and he's great at it. But as you can see, it's the simplicity that really elevates this design. And it's definitely something you can do too. In this next video, we're going to dive into picking colors for your slides, so stick with me. Let's dive into choosing colors for your slides, your brand, and even your course sales page. If you already have a brand, use your brand colors in your slides. The reason being is that your course is a direct extension of you and your brand. Your slides need to have the same look and feel as the rest of your content. That way, when your audience sees your course, they know it's from you because they recognize the brand. If you don't have a brand or color palette picked already, that's okay. Picking colors for your slides is a really easy place to start. Choose 2 to 3 colors to use throughout your slides. Pick one dark and one light color because they stand out the best when used together, and then pick a third complementary color to use for emphasis, either in important text as the background color or in design elements, just like these blue bars at the bottom of every slide. Now, as you can see, the colors in the right-hand column look great together. The light blue pops on that charcoal gray background, and so does the dark green text on the pale green background. Plus, they're easy to read, which is definitely another factor you need to consider when you're choosing your colors. In the top left corner, the magenta text on the purple background is nearly impossible to read, and underneath it, the orange and green combo is just plain ugly and really makes me think too much of Halloween. So keep in mind ease of legibility and how the colors look together when picking yours. To help you choose the colors that work well together, here are 3 great sites that you can use. The first is Color Lovers. It's a search engine palette generator and is a really great place to start, especially if you're just starting out. You can search for colors by keyword, hex code, and even by most recent creations. In this example, I searched for ocean because I was looking for palettes with a lot of blue tones. And as you can see, it pulled up palettes that have a lot of blue in them. Once again, if you're just starting out, stick to using 2 to 3 complementary colors to keep things simple and looking great. A quick warning about using Color Lovers: all of these palettes have been generated by people just like us. So that means some designers have created them and others have not. Some of the palettes are amazing and others, not so much. So just be aware of that when you're looking through them. Colors with 2 O's is my new favorite generator. It's super easy to use, and all you need to do is push the spacebar. And that's it. Just go to the site, click Generate Palettes, and press the spacebar, and a new palette comes up each time. To have more control, type in the color's hex code. A hex code is that 6-digit number that starts with a hashtag. It's just one more way of representing a color, just like RGB or CMYK. Now, once you type in the code, lock it so it doesn't change. And then, you guessed it, push the spacebar, and it'll generate palettes that go with that color. The last one is Adobe. You can either start with a very specific color, just like I explained in Coolers, or you can just play with the color wheel and come up with palettes matching the color in the middle. Where that white triangle is that's the color the rest of the palette is based off of. Now, every color has certain characteristics associated with it. Pink, for example, is often associated as a feminine and romantic color. Green is associated with wealth and balance, while blue is cool and trustworthy. Think about it. Most of the banks you see, like Chase, for example, have blue in their logos. Why? Because they want you to trust them that they will take care of your money. So, when choosing colors for your course, business, or brand, think about how you want to be perceived by your audience. If you're feeling stuck with this, draw inspiration from others. What colors are used by your favorite brands or businesses? What about those people who influence you? Pay attention to what they do, and if there is something you like, try to replicate it. Obviously, don't copy everything exactly, but if they have a nice red and orange color combo, for example, and you really like it, and that's what you want for your brand, try to find similar hues that work well for you and your intended brand. The colors that you choose for your slides can be used as solid background colors, in shapes, or other design elements along the slides. For text, use one color for the header text or when you want to emphasize an important word. You can also use the other color for body text. Another note on body text is that sticking with black or a dark gray or white, depending on the background color, is really best. It's the most common and most standard and really the easiest to read. It's better to stick with those colors and then add color in other ways. Take this slide from Melissa Griffin, the founder of the Nectar Collective. Her brand is very colorful. She uses a lot of bright colors like pink, blue, and yellow as her main brand colors. And she's translated that very nicely and cleanly into her slides. She incorporates color in a really simple way that's not overwhelming. Check out the rectangles at the bottom. She has those on every slide in her whole deck. She also uses that big red rectangle to call out one super important action item that she wants you to do right now. Now, once again, I'm going to direct you back to SlideShare to pull inspiration from if you're feeling stuck. I really do this all the time. If I'm stuck on a design, it's great to look at other people and what they do to get some inspiration. Don't reinvent the wheel. If someone does something nice visually, replicate it. Tweak it to fit your colors and your look, and voila! You have a beautiful color palette or a really awesome new design element. In the next video, I'm discussing typography, what fonts to use, where to find them, and how to size them, so stick with me. Now, let's go into some tips about typography. First, choose a serif or sans serif font for your text. They are the easiest to read, and the difference between them is the serif font is the one with the little tails on the edges of the letters, while the sans serif font does not. I personally prefer sans serif fonts because they seem more friendly and casual, plus I really do find them easier to read. And on mobile devices, they actually are. Avoid using decorative or script fonts, as shown below in the light blue, for your slides because they are a lot harder to read, especially when they're small. They're great to call out important words a single important word or phrase, especially if it's only one word on a slide, kind of like I did in the intro slides for each section. Yes, these fonts add pizzazz to your slides, but to get a lot of information across, they're not good for it. Go with a sans serif or a serif. Here's a list of the most commonly used fonts. If you're unsure of what to use, pick something from this list. They may not be the most exciting looking fonts, but they are tried and true and are used very frequently. Now, this list is really great to get started with, but I want to show you that you can have a bit more fun with fonts. If you go to the website Font Squirrel, this is the place to do it. This website is filled with commercial-free fonts that can really give your content something extra. Some of my favorite sans serif fonts are Lado, which is actually the font used in all of the decks in this course, Railway, which is the font on the Teachable website, and Open Sans. Just like color sites, you can search by keywords and font styles. For example, hand-lettered, serif, script, etc. And then all you need to do is download the fonts that you like and install them on your computer. A quick warning about using these fonts in your slide decks. Since they are not commonly found on most computers, if you share your Keynote or PowerPoint files only with somebody else, you will need to give them a zip file of the font. Otherwise, the content will look different because Keynote or PowerPoint will replace with a different font. So make sure you have your person install the font first onto their computer before opening the Keynote files. Otherwise, the content will look weird. If you're only giving out a PDF, you're fine. It's really easy to download and install new fonts on a Mac. PC users, I'm sorry, I'm a Mac person. So I've included a link to a FontSpring article in the text section below for you to reference in how to install fonts. It seems like every Windows type has a slightly different way to install them, so that link explains how to do it for Windows 7, Vista, and XP. So, to download fonts on a Mac, download the font from Font Squirrel, then double-click the zip file to unzip it, then open FontBook on your Mac. You can do this by either searching for it or going to a new Finder window, click on Applications, and then FontBook, just like I showed in this image on screen. Then all you have to do is just drag and drop that open file into FontBook and the font is installed. Super easy. One last thing to remember when you're choosing fonts is to make sure you use one that is large enough to read. Don't go for a size 20 font, it's way too small. Start with at least 40 points, and even that could be pushing it. The font sizes I've used in all of these decks are 60 points for the body text and 112 for the headlines. Bigger is always easier to read. My best advice is to just experiment until you find something. I guess by something I really mean find a size that is easy for you to read, and it should be the same for your audience. Now, in my last video, we're talking images, which are my favorite part, so see you there. Okay, welcome back. This is my last video, and we're gonna go into some really easy image tips that you can implement. And this, in my opinion, is the most fun part. As I said in the beginning, we love visuals. Visuals keep your audience enticed and make your slides look awesome. So here are a few of my favorite stock images sites that I literally use daily that you can find great images from. All of these sites are not your typical cheesy stock photo sites, which is awesome. Plus, they are all commercially free, which means that you can use them for anything. Course sales page, ads, social media, whatever. So, Stock Snap and Pixels are two stock aggregate sites. Search for anything, they usually have it. Those are my two go-tos because they pull a lot from these sites listed. The team over at Crew created Unsplash as their side project, and really the images are all breathtaking and gorgeous. Totally recommend checking it out. Gratisography is a pet project of photographer and designer Ryan Bell, and his photos are so entertaining. They totally make me laugh, and they're really great, totally different option from the ordinary when it comes to stock photos. I've also created a article on our blog that lists out the 13 best free stock photo sites, in my opinion. All of these sites are commercially free too, so I would totally recommend going over to that post and checking out some of the sites to find what you like the best. All right, so now you've found your images. Now let's talk about how to use text with them. My first tip is if the image is dark, use white as your text color. I've found that white stands out the best on images versus some other lighter color like a light yellow or a light blue. Obviously, every image is different, but start with white. Test out other colors if white doesn't look great, but just make sure you can read it. Now, what you might have guessed, for the opposite, if the image is light, use a dark colored text like this. If the photo has a lot of colors or a lot of stuff going on, just like this image of the veggies, add a shape over it. It can be anything: circle, square, rectangle, a star. And trust me, I'm sure you can get a lot more creative than those 5 little shapes I just said. And then all you have to do is add the text on top. When doing this, make sure you add the text in its own text box. This way you have more control over the formatting versus if you add the text directly into the shape. Another way to make text readable on a busy photo is to add a solid color rectangle over the image, like I did in this example. All you need to do is to make a rectangle the size of the slide, pick your color, and place it over the photo. And then reduce the opacity until you reached your desired image to color ratio. In this photo, the opacity is set to 40%. Just make sure to keep your text on top of the image and the rectangle. Plus, this is another way to bring your brand colors into your slides. Yay! You can also reverse that process. Instead of putting a color on top of the image, you can reduce the opacity of the image itself so you can see it faintly in the background. In this slide, the image opacity is reduced to 24. So, since you stayed with me until the end, and to help inspire you further, I've created 3 fully editable Keynote and PowerPoint templates for you to use however, wherever, whenever you want. The only thing I ask of you to do is please, please, please install the fonts first before you open the templates. I've included all of the fonts you need, and just follow my installations instructions from earlier. And all of these fonts came from Font Squirrel. Now, I'm sure we all have different versions of Keynote or PowerPoint, so the design of the slides might have changed just a bit. So if you want to see exactly how they looked for me when I designed them, I've included a PDF template of the slides too. This way you can readjust if anything moved to make it match. So I really hope you enjoyed these last couple videos. They are a few of my favorite easy design tips that you can start implementing today when you're creating your slides or any ads or anything. They're just going to take everything you've done to the next level. I can't wait to see what your content looks like. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Have fun and happy designing!